Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder.
Hey, what's up, guys? Ryan here, Torch Talk Podcast. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. But before we do, I'm going to share a little bit about my trip to Mexico. You're not going to want to miss this episode. We're going to talk about Mexico, and then we're going to talk about some news. You may have heard about what happened over the weekend. I'm going to share my thoughts. I'd love to hear your feedback. Long story short, I went to Mexico last week. I took my wife and my daughter. It was an amazing trip. We go every year to a summit, which is designed specifically for digital agencies, and had a blast, but ultimately learned a lot. Every year I come away from this event learning a ton and ready to implement and deploy things that we learn. Last year, I learned a couple things, but one thing made a massive impact on my business. I talked about it here about John Maxwell telling me to create a team of leaders that I develop, or we develop together. And so that's what we did. And that single thing, I believe, has helped out our business so much. Just that one thing that I implemented. We implemented more, but that was probably one of the best ROIs I've ever had. All right. So, you guys probably want to know what I learned. I learned a lot about AI. That's pretty much it. And I'm not going to go too much into detail because I want to get to this podcast. So let's talk about Trump and this election and assassination attempts. So Saturday, Thomas Matthew Cooks, apparently, it's been confirmed by apparently the FBI or CIA or whoever that Thomas Matthew Cooks was the attempted assassin of Donald Trump while Trump was at one of his rallies. And this just seems very off to me. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so we're not going to go through a ton of conspiracies, but I'm going to talk about some of the facts that have happened. And I think you can come to your own conclusions about where we're going with this. So I'm going to hit on a few things that I think are high level, and I'm not going to touch on everything, but we're just going to hit on a few things. First of all, this Trump rally, the timing of it, the timing of the attempted assassination, all of this is a little crazy to me. So if you on Twitter, they have maps of an aerial view of the location showing the building that Thomas Matthew Cooks shot from. It was about 150 yards away from the stage. You had snipers on a building next to the stage, a little off, not far. Probably only like 20 or 30, maybe 40 yards max. 2 snipers up there. I imagine, like, because he's not the president, he probably doesn't have like a full detail that, like, if Biden was speaking there, but he did have a lot of Secret Service, and you also had local police on the ground. So I'm trying my best to figure out and not accuse why the rooftop of a building that was 150 yards away was not protected? Why wasn't someone up there or patrol? Like, apparently, police were patrolling that area. And to my knowledge, from what I understand in an interview, that was a glass business. So it was a local business that does glass. And I imagine with it being a Saturday, they were probably closed, most likely. And this kid, um, I guess, had a ladder set up prior or brought his own ladder, which would be crazy, and crawled on top of the building. And then they described it as like military crawl to get in position. And while he was doing that, other people were seeing it, yelling at the police and the Secret Service that were the snipers on the roof. And they were getting frustrated because no one was doing anything about it, which, like, I'm trying to picture all this going on. And to my knowledge, if I'm a police officer, I'm on the ground and I've got someone yelling at me or multiple people yelling at me that there's someone on the roof with a gun. I may assume that that is Secret Service, but I don't have a leverage point to be able to say, hey, I can't see, or I can see it's a killer. Like, let's take him out, whatever. And I also imagine, more than likely would be my guess, the local police do not have the communication tied in with the Secret Service. Like, I would seriously doubt that that would be the case, which would seem obvious that they would, but I'm guessing that the local police did not have communication with Secret Service, not like radio or whatever. So I imagine that probably played a huge part in the delay. And then Secret Service obviously saw him or heard, because all of the videos and photos show that they were lined up, like, in position to shoot him before he shot. So they got tipped off somehow, some way. And based on an interview with one of the guys that were standing next to this building that Thomas Matthew Cooks was on, had mentioned that he did not think that the snipers saw him because the building is like an A-frame to a degree with a slight angle. And he thought that that angle probably protected him on the front side from those snipers. So, and then Trump was at a little bit of an angle to the side. So he didn't necessarily have to crawl to the peak, apparently, to shoot at Trump. Now, don't take all this as like evidence and proof and all this stuff. Like, do your own research. But I'm trying to give the Secret Service a little bit of a benefit of the doubt after fumbling the fact that common sense would tell you that that roof would be covered, and it wasn't. So the next video that I saw actually has um, the there were two snipers. One was on his knee, one was on his stomach. The one on his knee, it looked like he was trying to, like, he left his optics and tried to, like, stretch his head, his back, to look over the peak. That's what it looked like. And then as he was doing that, shots fired. So I imagine this kid maybe have crawled up a little bit to the point where he crest the peak a little bit, and then that's when the Secret Service sniper saw him. You see him quickly go back to his optic and fire Um, so take what you will from that, but total massive failure on, in my opinion, the Secret Service in that situation, just not having someone over there on the building protecting on the ground in the building just seems like a really missed opportunity. So why do we think this happened? I truly believe that I've lost faith in the the Democrat and Republican parties. 100%. Like I've got zero faith in either party. And it's almost like they're too big to fail at this point. And I believe that both of them play dirty, both of them. And I don't care. I'm a conservative, so naturally I lean more towards the right. But I have a hard time calling myself a Republican because I feel like they've gotten away from their core values. I feel like they have given up in a lot of areas, and I don't know. I think, and then on the Democrat side, I just feel like they play nasty. Like they're dirty, nasty, win at all cost. It doesn't matter. We don't really care what the people think. We know what's in their best interest, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that happens. And that's the mentality that I think takes place. And this is my opinion, right? Like you don't have to agree with it. Um, but this is what I see with my own two eyes. So I think this happened because you have had multiple accounts where you have Democrat Party electives, election, like people in the Democratic Party, including the president of the United States, saying things like he's an attack on our democracy. Um, Other officials saying stuff like something has to be done to stop him. Um, you got the many speeches from Maxine Waters saying things like take him out. You got plenty of officials saying stuff like that. And then recently you had Biden say that he's done talking about um, the debate and that Trump's got to be put in a bullseye. Now, he could have been speaking theoretically. It's fine. But it very much sounded like Trump couldn't be beat. And now we're going to fight dirty. That's what that sounded like. And so, whether his intentions were bad or not, I still don't think that that is appropriate, especially after what all has happened with what they claim Trump did on January 6th. And for those of you guys who are not filled in, on January 6th, Trump told people from the microphone to be peaceful, but it got out of hand and people charged or entered the building. They say charged. And I've seen video. I didn't really feel like they charged, but things escalated and someone lost their life. So let's look at the timeline of things here, right? They lost the first election against Trump. And if you remember, like if you go back prior to that election, this was against what Trump calls crooked Hillary. And Hillary was recorded saying on multiple occasions that she would win this by a landslide and that she was not worried that Trump was competing with her. The news stations echoed this same sentiment. They were absolutely thrilled that the Republicans had chosen Trump or that the people chose Trump to be the Republican representative because they thought that there was absolutely no chance he was going to win. He was considered an outsider. He wasn't a lifelong politician. And believe it or not, the Clintons and Trump had a long standing relationship prior to this happening. So it's a little crazy that they were shocked because you could see the outpouring of appreciation toward Trump um, by everybody except for government officials and local news stations and national news stations. All right. So they claimed that he colluded with Russia to win the election, which turned out to be false. They impeached him and drug him through court the entire time that he was president while he was dealing with COVID. And I'm not going to get on the, you know, COVID was intentional. It was a bioweapon warfare. I don't necessarily agree with that. Um, so I know that's conspiracy theory. I know that that is a possibility, but I don't think that that was that. I don't think that that was what happened personally. And there's no evidence that supports that COVID was a bioweapon designed to um, take out a massive amount of people and ruin a 4 years with Trump. All right, but um, you also got to remember the Biden laptop, right? And how quickly that was covered up, and the news reported it as misinformation and a last minute attempt to um, um, fraud fraudulently persuade an election. These are the things that were said prior to the second election. And then I remember I told my wife, I said, there's no way that, like, if they're willing to go through all of this stuff, and there's still more stuff that I haven't even mentioned, if they're willing to go through all this stuff and play dirty, and they were shocked last time on the election, I told her, I said, there's no way, zero chance they let him win this election. And I mean that by the simple fact, like I said this before the election. I told her, I said, the reason why is because they've proven they're willing to use the law against the president, and they've proven they have no integrity and that the people are not their priority. So what does that mean? That means to me that we're willing to do whatever it takes to stay in power. Whatever. if Trump is in, they will not be able to do whatever they want to do. And I think they also know that Trump will probably lock up a lot of these people and throw away the key because there's a massive amount of corruption in our government. And that's not an opinion. That is a fact. Like we know this. And if you're looking for facts and you want to question that, like just open your eyes and pay attention because it is super, super obvious what's going on. So my wife and I were watching the election. Trump's way up. And then all the news at the same time say, we've been informed that they're shutting down counting for the night, give people rest or whatever. I don't remember exactly what they said, and that they'll resume counting in a few hours. And this was late. And I'm like, what? This has never happened before. What is going on? And then it came out that they had more mail in ballots than they had anticipated. So many that they couldn't assume that Trump won because they were counting on, like they said this, majority of the votes, the mail in votes, would be for Biden, and that they had assumed that the only mail in votes that would be for Trump were going to be military. And that wouldn't be enough to offset the mail in ballots from everyone else that had passed in the last 10 years. Just kidding. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just saying that was really sketchy. And all of a sudden, the entire election flipped overnight. So my wife and I wake up, turn the news on, and guess what? Trump wasn't ahead by a massive margin. He was now behind by a decent margin, which is crazy, which just tells us that almost all, like 80-90% of the mail in ballots, which were a massive amount, almost all of them came from somewhere that were Biden voters.
Hey guys, I found something that changed my business and I want to share it with you. We've created packages that have included some of the best products in our industry to offer our service customers. The heart of that package is Stealth Hardware Kit. Stealth Hardware is the quietest hinges on the market. I challenge you to buy at least one of these, test it for yourself. Put it on your truck and design a quiet performance package for your customers willing to pay for a better, smoother running door. Buy your Stealth Hardware Kit at Service Spring, do a search for Quiet Hinge, and then buy that. You can buy a double or single door, 7 or 8 foot tall, and promise you, it'll change your service forever.
Somer USA and Somer Group want to thank you for an incredible year and the trust you put in them and their products. As you know, Somer places high value on relationships, education, customer service, innovation, and professionalism. And they are grateful to you for your part in the fostering and dissemination of these values. If there is any way Somer can support you in your journey, whether through their products, the values they hold to, or the knowledge Somer has gained through interaction with door dealers across the world, please reach out to the team at your convenience. They are here to serve you. Again, thank you from the entire Somer team. Check them out at somerusa.com. Tell them Ryan sent you.
So Biden wins the election. J6 happens, right? I don't know about that. Trump gets 88 felony charges against him. 88 felony charges. As a former president. So far, zero have stuck. And the judges have tried so hard, especially the one here in Atlanta, so hard to get them to not talk about it by demanding, forgot what it's called. Basically, he can't speak on the case while it's happening. I mean, like all these unprecedented things that they're doing is crazy to me. And it seems very obvious that to have 88 felony charges as a previous president, some of which are things that Biden did, like the documents in his garage, right? And they raided Trump's house because he had documents. I mean, it's absolutely insane that Trump has been in court for almost 8 years. 8 years he's been fighting. I imagine he's using his own attorneys and his own money. But you're talking a massive amount of money, a massive amount of time. And they still haven't won any. Really. So Trump debates Biden for this upcoming election. And all the news is Trump's crushing it. Trump crushed it. Biden did not look well, which I don't know why that's a surprise. He's struggled for 6 years now, maybe longer. But it was obvious to me, and I think most people during the previous election, he's not well. And then Biden says something to the effect, I believe it was this past week, that he's done talking about the debate and that Trump has to be put in a bullseye. Wow. Our president said that the previous president and his opponent has to be put in a bullseye. Now, I don't know about you, but that's way worse than anything that I think Trump has said. But then Trump gets shot at a rally. Technically, I think he did not get shot. I recently, this morning, saw a video of his, it looks like his teleprompters. They're on stands and they reflect his words. And I believe that the bullet went through the teleprompter, which is just like, it's kind of like a mirror that reflects the words that he needs to say, because I think they got him on a little bit of a tight leash so that he doesn't go off on rants and cause issues. So rumor has it he did not get shot. rumor has it that the glass from the teleprompter cut him. So I don't know for certain that that is the case, but that's what's being reported. But what a crazy event. You had someone lose their life, two, the shooter and I think a father. I think another one's critically injured. I have not heard the details of that one. But let's just be honest at this point. I don't think they're willing to let him win because he's not part of their agenda. And this is a true concern because we are the people. We are who they're supposed to be working for, but they're not working for us anymore. They're working on their own agenda and assuming we're okay with it. And they have done a really good job of gaslighting young Americans and Karens to the point where I think some of these people are losing their minds and it's really unsafe. So I pray that we can get all these people out. I think Congress needs term limits on how long they can serve. I think that the government needs to be shrink, like made smaller. I love the idea of doing away with income tax. I know that is a little scary because the infrastructure needs to be paid for, but if you cut the infrastructure down by a lot, then you may not need as many taxes. So I'm only a concerned American with my eyes open, paying attention to what I believe is super obvious. And I'm very concerned about the direction that we're going in. Very concerned that the Republican and Democratic Party is not looking out for the best interests of Americans. And that we, the people, have gotten to a point where we're so divided that we can't work together for progress. Somebody wants the credit and is unwilling to allow our country to move forward without the credit and all the wrong reasons. But greed usually catches up with people. And I'll be shocked. I'll be absolutely shocked if Trump wins this election. I'll be shocked. But as business owners, we have to pay attention, see how things affect our business, the projections. It'll be interesting to see how consumers act this week. So be paying attention to all of that and make sure that you like I don't like talking politics with customers. So while you're in the garage this week, if you're in there, I would not bring this stuff up. I would not. I would stay away from it. And if somebody says something, I think the best thing to do is to probably just be like, it's really sad, and I hate where things are going, and I hope they get better. And I would just leave it at that, personally. But pay attention. This is going to be my third election as a garage door business owner. And I would say that the last two elections, around this time, things slowed down pretty bad. And then they picked back up around December, I think. We got elections in September, so we're not far off. And we got some decisions to make. As a country. And I genuinely hope that we don't have more of the same of what's happening right now. Nonetheless, I want to challenge you as a business owner not to operate in fear and focus on the things that are within your control and go out there and win, because you can still thrive and win right now. Figure out your strategy, figure out your approach, and go get it. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week.